Inkubus, a new feature film starring Robert Englund and William Forsythe, premiered October 15th at the Rock and Shock Film Festival in Worcester, Massachusetts. Waterborn met with all the lead actors, as well as Glenn Ciano, the director, and Ben DeLuca, the cinematographer. In this installment of the 2old2play pop culture series, Glenn and Ben talked to Waterborn about casting a horror film dream team of actors and what it was like shooting away from the glitz and hindrances of Hollywood.
Alrighty, so this is Dane Tullock, aka Waterborn. I'm here at the 2011 Rock and Shock Horror and Music Festival. I'm sitting here with some pretty important guys. This is Glenn Ciano and Ben DeLuca, and they're part of the production team of the new movie Inkubus, which we had the opportunity to see the world premiere last night. We'll get more into that in a little bit, but first of all, Glenn, Ben, how you guys doing today?
Very good, very good. We're not going on much sleep, but we're pretty, and we're also on a big adrenaline rush, I think.
He's got the really nice 5 o'clock shadow going. It's actually more like a 9:30 shadow, and I like that. It serves you well. What about you, Ben? How you doing today?
Today's an awesome day. Last night was just incredible. I don't even have the words for it. It was just so exciting. We stayed up all night, enjoyed the moment, and so today's an awesome day.
Excellent. So let's talk about Inkubus. I mean, Robert Englund, first of all, how the hell did you get Robert Englund and William Forsythe and Joey Fatone and not Andrew McCarthy? Help me out here. Jonathan Silverman. He's going to kill me. Sorry. Weekend at Bernie's is one of my favorite films. I can't help it. But Jonathan Silverman, how did you amass this cast together, given the budget that you had to work with?
Well, with Robert, it was really the strength of the script. We felt like we had something strong there, and something that the producer, Chad Verdi, basically said, "Who's the biggest name in horror?" And I said, "For me, it's Robert Englund." And he goes, "Well, then we're gonna go get him." And I said, "Okay." But that's Chad for you. Before I knew it, I'm on the phone with Robert Englund, and we're talking about the script, and we hit it off, and he's in the movie. And then it came down to the second guy in the wish list scenario, and I was like, man, I would just really love to work with William Forsythe. I think he's one of our great American actors. And he goes, "Let's get him." And I said, "Okay." And before I knew it,
good thing you didn't mention Pacino, or your budget would have gone through the roof, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, there were people on the list, and there's always numbers attached to everything. But the fact that these guys were available, and then, like I said, the strength of the script, was up there. They responded, and once I got Robert Englund and William Forsythe, I had sold a script a while back called Homie Simone, and in that movie, I worked with Joey Fatone, and we really kind of hit it off and struck up an easy friendship.
And I just want to interject here, because I met Joey last night at the premiere, and people give him a lot of crap about that boy band. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room.
Right.
But he was
the boy band in the room.
Yeah, the boy band in the room. Not to mention the Freddy Krueger in the room. We'll get to in a minute. But the fact of the matter is, he was one of the most gracious people I've met in that type of environment. He had a lot of people pulling his attention away. Very gracious. Our very own cameraman talked to him yesterday for some period of time with his daughter, and he's just a very gracious person. So definitely much respect out to him. I'm not a boy band fan, but I am now a Joey Fatone fan.
Yeah, and that really is it. We struck up a real easy, honest friendship on the other movie, and when it came down to make this movie, I was like, man, I wanted to work with Joey again. And what intrigued me about this scenario, though, because I mean, he was the funny guy in the other movie, which is easy. But in this movie, he's playing, a detective in between, Robert Englund and William Forsythe. I mean, the character himself is supposed to be in over his head. So that was the
very theatrical definition of between a rock and a hard place being between Forsythe and Englund, right?
Yeah. But it was intriguing to me to get in there and pull a performance out of Joey that no one had seen before, and for the same reasons, like to shatter that mold of boy band stuff, and I really give Joey a lot of credit for being brave enough to he loves horror movies, which isn't the thing that you'd. I was like, "You want to do horror movies?" He's like, "Dude, I love horror." I'm like, "Nice," and we went in there and just did the work, and it was an opportunity for him to show people that he can do other stuff if given the opportunity. And I'm really proud of that. And in talking with Joey, I was like, I just feel like we need a little more pop and sizzle on this thing. I got the a horror icon, a great American actor, you, which, you know, I got some pop, you know, like I wanted to get something, another little piece of pop in there. And he's running down, I'm like, who do you know? You gotta know somebody. And he's running down a list, and he goes, Jonathan Silverman. And I had the same reaction you did, dude. I was like, oh my God, Weekend at Bernie's, we're so doing this.
I'm sorry, the best audio in any movie is the sound of Bernie's head hitting the buoy as they're skiing by it. That will sit with me till the day I die.
I'm just a I'm a Jonathan Silverman fan from when you know, Brighton Beach Memoirs. I mean, everything. So, and so that was really through the relationship of Joey that how Jonathan, you know, got into the movie, and it was great. It's just a wild party, you know what I mean? And then, you know, Michelle Ray Smith, it was like, you know, I had seen some of her work, you know, I basically had seen the reel, and I loved.
And just to clarify, Michelle Ray Smith, she came primarily from the daytime soap opera, right?
Yeah, and I saw her reel, and I saw some stuff on, you know, Law and Order and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, like she can do the opposite of the pretty girl, you know what I mean? She has something behind her eyes, you know what I mean? She's obviously, you know, very attractive, but she had something behind the eyes, and that's what drew me to her, because it wasn't, you know, I wasn't casting, you know, just a hot girl, you know what I mean? She needs to be something that he's going to use against the rest of the characters to try to, you know, force this night of horror and this will of, you know, this game of wills, and, you know, there had to be something more there, and I was really happy to kind of, you know, cast you know, someone like that, you know, as a female lead in a movie like this, and not just someone where, you know, was going to, you know, scream and go topless, which is, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm not saying there's anything wrong.
And for the record, we never did see her topless last night, did we? I don't think we did. Did I forget?
I don't know. Which cut did you see?
Oh, that's
like
right.
That? Yeah, I don't know.
I saw the preview cut, so.
Yeah. I don't know. You're going to have to go check it out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That is not a spoiler alert. Sorry, guys.
So that's it. That's the cast. That was how the cast pretty much got assembled.
And talk to me about it. Diane Kane, right?
Yeah, I mean, she was just turned on to us, you know, through a mutual friend as just being a really good actress, you know, and that was all true, and which was great, because now you got, but again though, you know, elevating the status of a female character, you know, to where, you know, Dr. Winstrom, and kind of playing that up and being classy doesn't mean that she can't be attractive again, but playing, you know, the doctor, getting into the doctor, what that meant to the story, and really putting that out there, and she was really brave, because you know, she had to do some really, you know, tough, you know, seduction stuff. Once Inkubus starts playing with her mind and kind of seeping in there and playing the puppet master, you know, and she had to do some very adventurous things, and she gave it, and it was just wild. I mean, everybody kind of really gave it.
To say that Diane gave it during the preview or the screening last night is a understatement. And she had the shortest but most telling comment at the Q&A. And I'm not going to reveal that, because there may be a video for the Q&A out there, and I want you to hear it from Diane's lips herself. But it was very telling, just her very short and succinct comment. So let's talk to Ben over here, because he thinks we may have forgotten about him. So Ben, talk to us about your role in filming the movie and your experiences not only with Inkubus, but your experiences prior to this production.
Well, Inkubus was very exciting because when Glenn first called me, he mentioned that there was this new camera system out, DSLRs, Canon 5D Mark II, that he'd done a little bit of research on. I had not done any research into DSLRs. I had been using a lot of HD, high-end Sony cameras and that kind of stuff for the last 4 or 5 years. So, you know, we started to take a look at it, and it seemed to be very exciting to me. I got my degree in still photography, so I was comfortable with that whole end of the camera system. And, you know, it was so small, so light, it really made it possible for us to get this film done in 15 days. So.
Wow, 15 days, really? That's amazing.
Yeah, and you know, we really, literally, only a month before we started shooting did we even start to do the research. The stuff was coming in a day or two beforehand. We had to figure out, you know, the entire system, monitoring, sound, what we were going to do with all that, because the camera really is not set up to do making movies, but it makes absolutely gorgeous pictures, and I think that comes out on the film, and especially that on a big screen where everything counts.
Yeah, it definitely, and I want to say that Ben has got to be one of the most hardworking individuals I've seen in the small-scale film industry, because they during the Q&A, he was videotaping the Q&A last night, and you know, they even comment about that you never stop working. Apparently, Ben, is that true?
You know, I keep myself busy, and a curious note there was that we actually were using the camera bodies and the lenses that we used to make the film to do a question and answer. And
nice.
Just kind of amazing. That was a kind of a cool moment for us.
Now, one thing I want to talk to both of you guys about is one of the things that really, there's a couple things that set the movie apart. Obviously, the script. And then obviously Robert Englund's interpretation of the script, and we're going to talk to Robert a little bit later, so we'll get his input on how he interpreted his character of Incubus. But talk to me about some of the art style that you guys put into the film. I mean, there were nods to Escher in the film, there were nods to some old noir stuff. Was that conscious? And if so, what drove you to put those elements in the movie?
Excuse me. It was a very conscious effort. You know, my relationship with Ben is we design the movies together, and that's, you know, aesthetically, you know, the whole world, the lighting design, and we have conversations like that. We watch, you know, movies together. We take little nooks and crannies, you know, from everything, and we build a world. And the fun thing about this movie and this camera situation was trying to get over the pitfalls of the technology, which we never look at as pitfalls. We started to design. We started our design with lenses, basically, and that was going to give us our first step. And we were very serious about that, because we were actually able to, you know, buy a lot of the equipment, even buy a lot of the lenses, because we knew that we were going to be making 3 movies in a row at that point. So we would need to go back to our system or pull it out, or whether it was to shoot additional footage or blah, blah, blah. So we were building something that was going to last. And it started with the lenses. And if you've noticed anything from, you know, last night, like, these guys and girls look like movie stars, you know, and they
definitely.
They were shot and, you know, photographed that way. Now, it was very important for me to show everybody, here they are. And, you know, and that's how you can really, in my opinion, cause create a big atmosphere. It's not just about, you know, what color the walls are painted, and you know, I did a little bit of that too, but it's setting the tone and the tempo. Like, we didn't physically move the camera a lot, but there was always movement, and capturing that movement, or going with it, whether it's slightly to the right or slightly to the right, or letting the image within the frame do the work for us. And that was something that, you know, we've kind of always done, but with this one, this was obviously the big one, and with the new system, we really tried to harken back to a lot of, like, a classic style of storytelling, because we felt like we have a classic story as well, and that was the first way to kind of make something that could have went, you know, this way, you know, go this way, and set the tone immediately, to where you open up this movie, and within 2 minutes in, you know what to kind of expect, you know, on a storytelling, you know, front, and that was very, very important to me, you know.
Now, talk to me about the challenges. This obviously isn't a multi-million-dollar production. It's a local Rhode Island-based production company, Woodhaven Films, right? And so you guys have budget constraints. We have to realize that. And one of the things that the Fangoria panel spoke about yesterday was that some of the fans of cinema, if they really want to get to the core of what's good out there today, they got to take some of those preconceptions and put them on the shelf for a second. Take some of those productive needs that we have, because we've seen things like Avatar, and really open ourselves up to local cinema, lower budget cinema. So talk to me about some of the challenges and how you guys took, which I assume was a limited budget, and really did some great things with that limited budget. So Ben, why don't you tell me from the video standpoint first?
Well, you know, we knew that we only had 15 days, and that we really had to make the most of every second that we had on the set. We you know, in purchasing all the gear, it's all off-the-shelf stuff. It's not really Hollywood gear. It's all stuff that you could almost go down to your local, you know, Best Buy and pick up. You know, certainly there was a push to use a Red or Zeiss lens sets and all that kind of stuff. We used Canon lenses, like anybody could get. And the other thing was, you know, I've been a Steadicam operator for a lot of years. A lot of these films, there's lots of movement, all that. And I didn't want to sacrifice the time that Glenn had with the actors in the frame to to spend the time doing all those setups. And it also added to the claustrophobic effect that we want, because we were inside one venue. They were inside that police station, and they were these just rock solid sort of frames that these wonderful actors, I mean titans of the industry, are in that frame. And you don't need to use any of that. I mean, we use motion to build a little energy as we went down the line, though. But it was really just about using off-the-shelf monitors, off-the-shelf hardware, keeping it as fast, as light. I mean, these cameras are very small, they're very light, and they're extremely sensitive. One of the best cameras I've ever used for light sensitivity. That means less lighting and less of everything, and much more mobility. It's a little challenging for the actors. You can imagine these guys come on the set and they see these tiny little cameras that would be still cameras and these huge monitors, because of so shallow depth of field, and not being really having follow focus systems that you could use to be on top of that, and not using cinema lenses where they're all made to be follow focused like that. We had 42-inch and 32-inch monitors as our major monitors to see what we were doing, but these tiny little cameras, and here they were with these tiny little cameras like this and some long telephoto lenses, but in these huge monitors right next to them. So it was challenging, but it really seemed to work, and it shows up on the screen, and that was the exciting thing last night, and the people seem to appreciate that. So
I definitely did, and one of the things I was talking to Robert about earlier when I had a chance to talk to him over at his booth was that local production companies are, to me, where the future of cinema is at. Sure, we're still going to have the multi-million-dollar big budget stuff, but to really get creative ideas, in other words, we're not having the third or fourth iteration of something we've seen. As much as I love Freddy, as much as I love Jason, we've heard those stories before. This is a new story. And one of the things that I wanted to bring back talking about Robert Englund was, we've seen him with Freddy. We've seen him with the full face makeup, the practical effects, the special effects, out the wazoo. You guys could have gone that way within your budget, but you guys chose to really bare bones it out in terms of Robert Englund's character and let him as an actor flesh out what the makeup used to do in the Krueger films. So talk to me about that.
And that's actually a very interesting question, and there's an interesting story behind it. The first thing that Rob and I talked about script-wise was, in the script, the character of Incubus was written as this lurky guy with like a Chris Angel, but with hair all in front of his face, and you couldn't, and maybe possibly like mashed up or disfigured to some degree or whatever. And he goes, Glenn, I'm down. I'm down. I think that could be great. Because, but what do you think about how attached are you to that whole thing? Is that a conversation we can have? And I go, yeah. I go, to tell you the truth, I was thinking about going in a little bit of a different direction. And actually, you spent so much time in makeup to go the reverse. One thing you haven't been able to do is to really lead with your face, to draw people in, to go the reverse, and not have to say a funny joke before you kill somebody, to do the dance with them, be worldly, and be calm, and really put yourself out there, as this old mischievous kind of demon that's been around. I mean, you've been around for 100 years. You know what I mean? So you kind of the way things are going. You have a lot of experience there, and so does Robert. I feel as an actor and with his talent, and to give him the opportunity to let that be what the character's about, for him to present, to be the gentleman, and which is a lot scarier. You're sitting there and you're like, wow, this guy might kill me at any second, but yet he's very gracious. He's offering me tea. Right.
Well, really, one character that I really relate Robert's character to in Incubus was, my gosh, Robert De Niro. The movie in New Orleans,
Angel Heart?
Angel Heart. Very similar. In other words, Robert De Niro, he had long hair, but he was still Robert De Niro. He didn't have all this face. He played Satan himself, and they could have gone a completely different way, but they let Robert flesh out the character, De Niro in that case, Englund in this case. And I think that he did, like you said, he did such an amazing job of being the gentleman actor who would slit your throat in a second without a second's notice. And just to clarify, you do let his humor come out once or twice during the movie.
Yes. Well, humor is a great part, but it's not something that I want to have to rely on, because the only way, for me, I find humor in those moments, in those small moments, to where, but if you're not engaged with the person as a character, if you're not getting to know them, then you're not involved with the situation. If you're not involved with the situation, then what comes up might not be humorous. You would have to rely on a joke. I'm not a jokey guy. I love humor. I mean, you know, I feel like there's a lot of it in it, but it's situational. And it's because, hopefully, I'm tugging you along on this ride with these people.
Definitely, there's a huge difference between laughing with the character and laughing at the character. And the one thing, despite, you know, some of the production restrictions you guys had, there wasn't mocking of the movie. Like in the preview last night, in the premiere, when the crowd laughed, they laughed because it was supposed to be funny. They didn't laugh because they thought the effects were stupid. And they jumped when they were supposed to be scared, not because the effects are what scared them.
Right.
And that is something that's really difficult to do in this day and age.
And you use everything as a tool. Right. You know what I mean? And just like when Ben and I can't afford, you know, a whole light package, and we go out to the hardware store and we build a lighting package. You know, I mean, we concentrate on what you do have, not what you don't have. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for anything, you know, because as far as I'm concerned, I laid it all out on the table, you know, and I have no regrets. And now it's up to, you know, the fans to, you know, make of it what they will. But I think when you put that much work into stuff, it shows. You kind of stain the movie that way. You know what I mean? You put it all out there, and we're very proud of that. And now it's like, if you have no regrets, then you can let it be whatever it's going to be. And you just have to. I mean, my favorite tool, my favorite effect in the movie is the 200 lens. And
what? I'm sorry?
The 200 lens.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a big boy. And it's meant so that you can, you know, put a big lens on and see stuff, and I can put the camera way over there and I can still be close. So we had a conversation about it. I go, well, I don't really want to do that. I go, what's the range of focus? He goes, about 6 feet. I go, well, then just a little bit beyond that, which makes it even tougher for what Ben was saying. Now he's got a rack focus. He's like riding a bucking bronco. But that's how you get these really big, you know, gorgeous actors filling up a frame. You're living and breathing. When the moment is there, it's up there on the screen. To me, that's the biggest effect of the movie: the characters, the story, and then everything else is just meant to kind of, you know, enhance the ride.
That's a really good point, because one of the, you know, when you have 4 or 5 big name actors in a single shot, a single frame without cuts, everybody's kind of looking from actor to actor and trying to get all their different reactions, and you guys did that very well. In other words, you didn't have to pan in to Jonathan Silverman to see what he was thinking while Robert Englund was talking to Joey Fatone. And that I never really thought about that, but you guys did an excellent job of that.
That's all structure and work and game planning, because, well, for me, I love it, and I love stories, and I love independent, you know, stuff. But we talked about this. How do you? It's your job to now design your shots and display the information. A lot of times, and they're rushing. Everyone's rushing. You don't have time. You don't have money. So let's just get it shot and then move on. Well, hold on a minute. You know, I don't want to see a loose frame with 5 people in it, because some of the actors in there are doing a great job. They're selling their stuff. You know, they're telling their story. But you have to work as an audience member, like you said, to go fish it out. Who am I supposed to be looking at? I'll tell you who you're supposed to be looking at. You know what I mean? The others will tell you who to look at. But you have to have the shots. We do the group shots, but then we go pop off and pop off. So now it's like, you know, you have it all up there. And it's, you know, like I said, when it's supposed to be a group, it's a group. But when it's supposed to be on you, when you're having your ha-ha moment, I need to see you, and I need to get right up in that beautiful grill of yours and you know, have it read.
We'll just let that go without commentary.
But that was, you know, again, the biggest thing that we did was we selected our lenses, right. And we knew it's time for the Deuce, it's time for the 85, it's time for the blah blah blah, and those were used in a very specific, you know, kind of a very old school Howard Hawks type of mentality, you know, old classic storytelling, to where it's like, you know, let the story play, you know, and I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's very interesting that, too, Glenn and I were thinking down the line, many scenes down the line, so it was a little uncomfortable maybe for the actors, because you'd have the main camera set up where the action is here, and then all of a sudden this other second camera would be kind of like, well, is that, you know, what's it doing over there? But so you know, there's those little moments that Glenn was trying to get all the way through the film, and that's what you're seeing. You're seeing them watching a primary action with a primary camera, but they're getting that little reaction that's more normal and more comfortable for them. Instead of stopping down and just trying to get that reaction, they're giving those side little reactions on the second camera that are happening all at the same time. So a lot's going on for these guys. I mean, especially with the big monitors, you got these great monitors, and they can actually see a little bit more than you'd like them to see. But the main thing's going on here, and these little snippets are being pulled over here. So they really have to be on their toes. Everybody does in those group shots because they don't really know who's when they're on and off. So they're on all the time. But it adds a lot of energy, I think, to the way their performances were.
It definitely shows through in the footage that we saw last night too. Like I said, especially the very first shot where you see everybody and Robert in the police precinct. That shot, I think, is the most telling shot production in terms of my interpretation of production value of the entire film, because you have all the primary characters. You have Robert Englund, who's a god among horror films. So everybody's just like, okay, what's Robert gonna do? But then you're pulling all these other inputs in from Joey, from Jonathan, from everybody else, and I think that being able to make the viewer's eye go over there, even though Robert's in the middle of the screen or William Forsythe's in the middle of the screen, you still make him go, wait a minute, what's Jonathan doing, or whatever. And I think he guys did an amazing job on that, and I'm very impressed. And that's a good point that I picked up when I was watching the movie, but I didn't realize I was picking up on, so it's almost subliminal, and so that's really good.
We weren't leaning on special effects later. We weren't leaning on a lot of coverage of things. We basically decided early on that we were just going to go for what we want first, and then we'll know if we need anything else beyond that. But we had to economize so much on this that we got a couple takes. We're not a one-take kind of team, but we get a couple good takes in there. We know what we want, and then we don't have to do all that stuff. So we were really betting everything on the fact that we were just filming it and getting what we wanted, and we went with that. And we were very lucky that it all worked out that way. But it was.
Well, I think you guys did a wonderful job. Now, you had mentioned in your commentary a few minutes ago that this was the first of 3 films. Can you elaborate on that at all?
Yes, I can. We did 3 films back to back to back. The first one was Incubus. The second one was Lucy's, a very different kind of story, more of a romantic, dramedy, but street kind of story with Peter Facinelli, and we got to work with William again, and Michael Madsen, and Joey Pants, and Jamie Alexander.
Dude, you pull the people in, don't you?
Yeah, yep, and Vincent Gallo, which was wild, and that movie's done and completed, and that's going to make its way out December. But I produced that, along with Chad, and we designed, the look and the feel of the movie. But and then I went back into the director's chair for Infected, which is, I had demons, for the first one. And then I was playing with zombies in Infected with Michael Madsen, William Forsythe, and Christy Carlson Romano, which will be coming out early next year. So that was pretty wild, and we went and played in the woods on that one. It was a kind of a father and son hunting trip that goes horribly wrong, obviously.
One would think with a name like Infected, right?
Yeah, yep. But again, now I'm getting to work with Michael Madsen, and
dude, what is it like? Talk to me real quick about Michael Madsen, because Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 are probably the 2 my favorite films of all time.
Well, then this is a fun story for you. And you can check it out on my website. I blogged about it because this was wild. When I was about to work with Michael Madsen, we were having a conversation. I said, listen, again, as the whole actor-on-actor story, I was like, listen, I'm not hiring a headshot. I want to do something that, gets you to a place that, I don't feel like you've been in the last, 10 years. I want to punch a hole in your stomach and rip out your guts, you know what I mean? And he goes, well, you got balls. You know what I'm going to do for you? I'm going to wear my Stetson.
He did not. Yes,
from Kill Bill to Infected. He's rocking the Stetson. He looks like the Marlboro Man in this movie, and it's unbelievably wild because I wanted to. This is also like my version of. I get a little Western flair in this movie, obviously, but with zombies. But it's not like it's not cowboys and zombies by any means. So don't worry. But yes, it's he was my modern day cowboy in this movie, and you got to see him in that hat, in that shotgun, in that vest. bucking down zombies. It's pretty nuts.
I tell you what, two of the most iconic characters I have ever seen in film are Michael Madsen in Kill Bill, and of course his role in the first Tarantino film, Reservoir Dogs. I mean, the ear cutting scene. Come on, guys, let's talk about it. But yeah, I'm so impressed. I'm so looking forward to seeing that. My video guy just said that we kind of have to wrap it up. We got more people coming, so I definitely appreciate the two of you guys taking time to talk to us. Up, switch film. There you go. So once again, we're with Glenn Ciano and Ben DeLuca. I'm sorry, Ben. I met so many people this weekend of Inkubus, and we're going to have Robert Englund coming up in a little bit, William Forsythe, and the local cast and crew. There are a lot of local actors who are in the movie as well. Yes. So we're definitely looking forward to talking to them. So stay tuned with us and check out my review on 2old2play.com. This is Dane Tullock, aka Waterborn, with 2old2play.com. And once again, I'm here with the director and the cinematographer of Inkubus, the new movie starring Robert Englund. Check it out on October 28th, theaters across the nation. Thank you very much, guys. See you soon.